We're getting ready to make our chicken pot pie soup. Start out with 2 cups of cut up celery and 3 shallots and 5 peeled and cut carrots. So I have cut up 10 chicken thighs, and I also have 2 cups of heavy cream, 1 thing of softened cream cheese cut up into smaller bits to use later in the recipe. And it typically calls for 1 cup of frozen peas. So let's get started. Down in my Instapot, I have some butter that I'm going to saute the shallots, the carrots, and the celery in. To saute my Instapot, I use this button down here that says saute. So I'm going to get this turned on, and it is set to 10 minutes because I'm making a double batch. Normally that would only be set to 5 minutes for saute, but also need to go ahead and get that butter melted. So once that butter is melted, I'm going to add the next ingredients. So we're just going to wait a minute while this thing warms up and we'll get going. Looks like we're getting close to have the butter melted. Let's check the butter. Oh yeah, it's time to go ahead and get those shallots and carrots and celery in there. So let's get that done. Well, now that we've got everything in here, it is sauteing up. Now we're gonna add some flavor. Got some poultry seasoning, got some minced garlic, we got some thyme and some parsley. So let me go ahead and get that going in there because the vegetables are really starting to soften up and they've even reduced in size a little bit. Now that we've got our seasonings in there with our carrots, celery, and shallots, we are just gonna let it continue to saute for just maybe 2 minutes or so. Now, just a tip, I always use unsalted chicken stock because I want to control how much salt is going to be in my dish. And so now that I've got all the liquid in, we are gonna put the chicken and then we're going to pressure cook this for a few minutes. It's going to be quick and easy. So I've added my chicken and I've stirred it up all really good. So let's go ahead and get the pressure cooker started. So now that we have the lid on, I am going to come down here and I'm going to hit meat and stew. And 1 batch would normally cook for 6 minutes, but because I have a double batch, I'm going to up that to 12 minutes. We have to make sure the pressure valve is closed. This way is open, this way is closed. And so now that I have put that time in, it thought about it for a minute, and now it's going to start to build up some pressure in there. And once it gets up to pressure, it will start cooking everything all together so all those yummy flavors mingle. And then we'll move on to the next step. Now that the Instant Pot has beeved, we're going to let it sit here for 10 minutes before I come back here and manually release the rest of the steam, because we need that little red thing to go down before I can open the lid and do the next steps. So now I can manually release the rest of the steam. Now that my little button has fallen down and all the steam has been released, I can just twist the lid off and here comes the soup. Wow, look at that soup. Let me stir it up. Now I've got the cream cheese in there and I've got to get it melted into the soup. While that's melting, I'm also going to make the roux. Alright, I've got my roux ready. Now with my roux, you don't just throw it in there because otherwise it'll get really lumpy. So as you can see, I have mixed together that little bit of soup and the roux. I'm going to add just a little bit more broth from the soup, and then I'm going to put the roux in the soup. So I've put in the roux that was mixed with some of the broth, and now I'm going to mix it up together and let it start to thicken. So now that my roux is all mixed in, I just need to add the peas and the heavy cream, and we will be ready to eat. Well, now that everything's all mixed in and the peas have come up to temperature, we are going to dish up. Doesn't that look so incredibly amazing?